My favorite banana is any banana that's fresh that I grew or somebody I know grew. I can't tell you
love that.
one variety versus another, because if it's not from a, mass farm in Panama that got loaded up on a shipping, giant ship and then burning nasty bunker fuel all the way across an ocean to then reverse the process over here to then go into the big box store.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Our potential, it's exponential.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another podcast. I'm here with a special guest, Gary. Gary, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So tell us, you've been doing food for us for how long?
It's hard to say because I think I was explaining to you, I've only known the term food forests for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And once I learned that term, I realized I was growing food forests.
You're saying 3 years ago from now? Wow.
Whenever COVID started.
Interesting.
Yeah, because what happened was my daughter was virtual schooled, as were a lot of kids when COVID first hit. And she was watching a Jeff Lawton video in a permaculture block for her virtual school.
Really?
And I kind of walked through the space and looked at what she was watching and said, ooh. So I hung out and watched it with her. And when it was done, I realized what a food forest was. And I realized that I had been growing food forests probably at that point in time for 10 years.
Got you.
Yeah.
So in your backyard, like...
In my backyard.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you growing?
I mean, I added it up the other day.
Uh-huh.
Probably 100 different species since I started.
Like just fruit trees or...
Everything.
Oh, cool.
Right now in my backyard,
Cool.
probably a good mix of fruit trees, perennial shrubs, different root crops, just
nice.
everything,
How
everything.
How much land?
Well, me, about 10,000 square foot.
Okay.
Wow. Typical suburban plot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about, you have a nonprofit too. Do you want to tell everybody about what you guys do?
Let's start with that. So
Yeah.
I do have a nonprofit.
Cool.
I'm one of 6 board members, but I'm the boots on the ground. I'm the executive director. And that sounds like a job where somebody's sitting behind a desk, with a keyboard and doing spreadsheets. And that's not what it is.
Okay. What do you do? Yeah, that's just a title, right?
Yeah, I'm the one.
What's your activity?
Yeah, I'm the one out in the field every day. I'm outdoors. So
I love it.
As it relates to food forests.
So it's been hot. It's been hot.
It's been so hot.
It's been hot.
I think we talked about that, and that feeds into the nonprofit because I think this is, if anybody wants to deny climate change, walk outside.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I was thinking about this, yeah. What do you think, because I just have to ask you, what about people who are to say, like, man, it's like, because the media is pushing that really hard, too. Like, what do you think? Like that, anything like that, like, just puts red flag, for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like we don't have the whole story, the whole scope of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's hot. I mean, I don't know. What do I know? I don't think we don't have all the information. What would you say to someone who says that?
Yeah, what I would say is for sure you're right. Like, we live in a world where the media pushes everything.
Yeah.
We seem to be in a world where everything's one or the other. Yeah. So it's like from what you eat to what you believe to who you vote for to where you shop to how you treat a disease depends on which side of that fence most people sit on. But one thing that is kind of unavoidable is science. So when you really look at science and you have, I'm a little older than you, but
got it.
I remember my science teacher in the 8th grade telling me about global warming.
Yeah.
This was back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with it. I grew up with knowing that science and scientists were telling us, hey, this is happening.
What is the science? Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. If it's science is the answer, I just think that's sketch too. Like, I don't know if I trust the science teachers in the curriculum, like that's just me though.
So I look at it like this.
I don't know if your science teacher knows. Does he know? Does he really know?
Well, I look at it like this. I think because I teach kids sometimes. One of the part of the things the nonprofit does is we get in the classroom or we're in a food forest and
dude, it's good stuff. Yeah.
And sometimes we're teaching
expand the
kids.
mind, man.
Yeah. So one of the things I do to, people do well with visuals. So one of the things I'll tell a kid when I'm trying to explain, and I can tell an adult this too, but it's good for a kid. If I want to explain, say, global warming, right? And the impact that we have as humans on it, a really good visual is, you know, those snow globes? Those, you know, little balls with the little castle or whatever, and all the snow settles to the bottom, and you shake it up, and the snow falls down.
Yeah.
So I try to explain the earth like a snow globe. Or I tell them, I'll show them.
Interesting.
If I can show them visuals, if you've seen, and everybody at this point has seen.
How so, like a snow globe?
So I'm going to tell you, like, people have seen a picture of Earth from space, where it's this, like, dark, dark void, and then there's this beautiful, pristine, perfect sphere in the middle of all this darkness. So that's like the snow globe.
Okay.
So everything happening in that snow globe is in a closed system. Everything happening in our planet, because of our atmosphere, is in a closed system. All matter is
closed system.
Closed. All matter is conserved.
It's interesting.
None of it leaves.
Why do you say that?
Because it doesn't leave. It's in the atmosphere. The air we breathe, everything's here. So,
man, this is an interesting conversation. I appreciate this.
Yeah. So whatever we do, good, bad, and ugly, stays.
No, and it's true. And by the way, we do have an impact. By the way, for the record, it is true. I don't know how severe to volcanoes. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing, it's a closed system. It's like, what you're saying is interesting, but I really want to just change the subject, even though I appreciate the thoughtfulness.
We can do that some other time.
Because I want to talk about stuff we know, stuff that's here, man, that matters, that's meaningful, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we were talking about like abuse earlier. Talk about what you grow and what should people know if they want to get a food forest going? If you want to teach someone, get it going.
So the first thing I would say is, we all want food forests or the people who want food forests, it probably starts like this. The way it did for me organically, I want a mango tree because it's amazing. I love mangoes. I want a mango tree. And then you start to think, you know, I also want some tomatoes or peppers because I eat them almost every day. And then you start to think, hey, you know, I like some greens. I want to have some greens. And then you might think,
interesting.
You know, so you start to pretty soon work in what you can where you have it, and before you know it, you're vertical farming. You've got, you know, from the top on down, and you're basically growing a food forest. And you're doing it because you want to have good food that you can eat, and that you know that you can trust.
So that's where you started from, was that vision of the future of like, hey, I could have peppers. I could do this.
I started because I wanted to eat it.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't until I was working for the nonprofit that I started to look at that through the lens of, what is this actually doing besides feeding me? What is this actually doing for me, for you, for the planet, for the little animals and the birds?
Right. So what are some of those things? Exactly. You're getting to a good point.
Yeah.
Some people don't want any snakes or anything in the system. you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And you're in Boca, you probably know they want sterile, but the truth is a food forest is kind of messy. What would you say to someone like that? Like, hey, we shouldn't have all these species.
That's a good one, because right now I'm dealing with the Palm Beach County school system, trying to get a food forest approved in a Palm Beach County district school. And they've got some amazing thought and some wonderful people behind the gardening program, but they have concerns about fruit trees. And their main concern about fruit trees is, to your point, is the pests that come with it.
Pests, okay.
So if you have a big mango tree, it's almost impossible to eat all the mangoes as hard as we try.
Yeah.
They come off a mango tree, they fall, and then come the rats, right? So that's the kind of thing, to your point, if somebody's saying, hey, I might like a food forest, but I'm a little scared of having rats. I don't like the idea of having snakes. So what I would say to that is, I would say, you know, before you came here, before you bought that house, your property was native habitat.
Facts.
And these snakes and these birds and these frogs and these raccoons are actually the people, not the people, but the animals that should be there.
Wow.
You're just kind of
It's so interesting. So you're talking about perspective.
It's perspective.
Keeping it in perspective. Yeah, dude. Because people think like we're so entitled to the land, all of it. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
What you're saying. Like they're the inhabitants. They're actually the natural inhabitants. And we're you know, the ones who are misunderstood. Interesting.
It's like our beaches, man. Like if you go to the beach, we all go to the beach, and it's this beautiful place. And some people surf, some people fish, most people just lie out and get a tan. And millions and millions of people visit our beaches here in Florida every year and do their thing, good, bad, and ugly. And then they split. And then at nighttime, all the animals and plants that actually live there have to recover. We've got to recover, right? Because they're our most heavily used natural areas, but people don't have that perspective that it's a natural area.
That's why awareness is so important, man.
That's it.
Yeah, and like knowing there's turtles out there and baby turtles. But how magical is that? There's baby turtles out there coming to life at nighttime. Amazing.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
In every turtle. Because I was speaking with I did a video with a biologist.
Okay.
And they tag turtles and they mess with the hatchlings and all that turtle stuff. And he was telling me that every turtle they've sampled, every single one that's died and they've sampled the stomach, has plastic in it. Everyone.
Yeah. It's real, man. Interesting.
So you think about something you can do for the planet, go out and clean up the beach.
Yeah, it's
Take
true.
a walk, enjoy the beach, pick up some trash.
The other day I saw like a fraternity in Juno Beach, like, you know, or something, doing like beer pong and like cups everywhere, cups in the mangroves. And it was, you know, it's okay. I was in the scenes like that at one point too, and it's all good. But it's true. There's so much impact. I just think like there's impact all day long. You're right.
And that
like,
goes,
think about what Palm Beach Island was before nothing was there.
Yeah.
How special.
Yeah.
Really cool to think about.
And that's getting back to your perspective thing with the food forest. So what happened to me, I mean, I'm an environmentalist, but I wouldn't have considered myself an environmentalist 10 years ago, even though I lived by those principles maybe.
Interesting. Why? Because what do you think that was, like that shift, that...
Awareness. And that came from... So to the extent it came from the food forest, I never composted, right? I never had a reason to. So all of my...
They come pick the trash up.
That's
and that's where we grew up in a city. Yeah.
And it winds up in a pile, right?
No, but composting is a step. Yeah.
It's a huge step.
Wow, yeah.
You know, and it's just like little by little, that's how it happens.
It's the thought. It's more of the thought, right? Of like, oh, this goes back to the earth and it fed me.
Yeah.
It's not, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you an interesting thing about that is I visited a food forest up in the DeLand area, if you know DeLand up there.
Yeah.
And the guy that was, you know, the owner of the food forest offered me a little squash. I think it was Tindora. And I popped it in my mouth. And I hadn't eaten because I took a long drive up there. I was driving all over the state, doing videos and neglecting my health for sure.
Yeah.
And
no breakfast.
No breakfast. Maybe like a little bar or something, and coffee, and that's it. And I was
in DeLand,
and he gave me that. I popped it in my mouth, and I just felt instantly better. Wow. Instantly alive.
That's true.
Yeah. And
it's true, man.
It's so true, man.
It's different. It's energy.
It's energy. And I
vitality.
I tell you, it was the next day. Might have been the same day. I drove down to, it doesn't matter, but it was somewhere by Orlando. And I filmed a food forest video on this beautiful lady that has been doing a food forest kind of in combining it with meditation and yoga and just kind of spirituality. And that was kind of her thing, because everybody's got a thing. And I was sharing that anecdote with her about that Tindora that made me feel so alive. And she said, oh man, that's prana. That's life force energy.
Prana.
Yeah.
It's energy. It is.
Yeah.
I feel that. And I get away from it. Like right now, I don't have a lot of, like, in winter, it's just different seasons. It's interesting. Now I'm eating mangoes, getting sugar highs and just being done in the middle of the day. But in the winter season, when I have carrots and I go and I just don't have lunch or anything, and I'll go at 1 or 2 p.m. and eat the carrots, and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's just like, whew, that's all I needed.
Yeah.
Like, here we go.
Yeah.
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 You're talking about Tindora, those little cucumber things. That, cool. Those are amazing.
They are amazing.
By the way, they're technically invasive. Do you know that, right?
I think
On the list.
unfortunately a lot of what we grow is invasive.
You're probably right. Some of it. Some.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But that thing goes hard. There's like a seedless one that I would recommend people get, a sterile one.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes off. It's food. So it's like, who are we to say? Someone said the other day, humans are invasive. What do you think about that?
That's profound. I mean, we are in the sense that we have the technology to spread so quickly and bring things all over and change whole ecosystems so
we
quickly.
We created invasives.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's more of, I tried to, and my thought was, and I think it really is, this is just me, but like we are co-creators. We are really, there's something more going on spiritually to it. I don't know exactly, but we're more stewards. We're more.
That's a great word, stewards.
It's some sort, don't you think?
Well, I think we need to be.
Yeah, cool.
We need to be.
And you do it, man. That's so cool. So you're saying you're the boots on the ground with what you do.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So the whole premise, the mission, is to really take something big, like we're talking about global warming. That's obviously the big one, right? So whatever it is.
Bigger than us. Yeah.
Right. The biggest thing, from the biggest to the smallest.
Mm-hmm.
And say, hey, like, how do we make it better? Talking about stewardship, right? How do we make it better? And so
how can we make it better?
The popular model, right, is you think, well, our government's got to do it, or business has got to do it. So when was the last time business did something for the good, right? They do it to
I
make...
like to think Urban Abundance does. I try to, at least.
Yeah, well, that's good.
More positive, right? But you're right. There is more... Dude, you're right. I think about it all the time. There's more financial incentives
and then
for businesses, right? Wouldn't you say?
And yeah, of course. Has to be.
Than the earth. Yeah, it has to be.
And then government. So, like, let's just take a look.
But does it?
I noticed you drive a Tesla.
Yeah,
which is amazing. And I'm really, really trying to afford and buy an electric truck because I need a truck. But I can tell you this.
Okay.
Right now, and the government is trying to phase in, thank goodness, electric vehicles. We're trying to take the fossil fuels out of the whole industry and go towards electric.
You think that's good?
Oh, I do, because...
Some people say it's bad, by the way.
Yeah, wait, that's a conversation for another time, but...
I don't know. One of my clients is giving me a hard time. And he's like, bro, they're slaves. He's sending me pictures of slaves, or just like people having fun in Africa. And I'm like, man, because I'm driving a Tesla, I'm like, man.
That's a huge conversation.
It is.
But the very short version of it...
It's mining. It's a bigger issue.
The short version of it is, yes, it's a good thing. And so the government, just to give you an example...
Because it's a non-renewable resource, fossil fuels. That's it's finite.
No, not because it's finite.
Why?
And again, I'm
curious because of the carbon emissions.
Yeah, man. Absolutely because of the carbon emissions.
Got it.
And so basically, the government is taking 35 years, 30 years to make that happen. Whereas you could make that decision and did. Hey, I'm going to do something today. And you bought the Tesla.
Yeah.
So the real power lies, that's just one example, but the real power to change and to be a steward and to make a difference is with us, the individuals. So the whole premise of our nonprofit is
That's it right there.
How do you recognize that collective power?
Okay.
And how do we help the average person that says, hey, I want to do something, but I don't know what.
The individual, right?
Right. I want to buy a product that's good versus a product that's not.
Right.
But I don't know. There's too many products. I want to...
Dude, how do we... Because that's really the problem. The people don't even know where to start. They don't even...
Yeah.
Like, how could our audience... Like, we only have so much time, and I appreciate the conversation, brother. It's like thought-provoking and getting people thinking outside of themselves, you know? That's the whole goal of this. And like... And to empower themselves and teach them something. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, how can people who don't even feel motivated, like, man, how do I even do this? Like, they might be a kid, or they might be like someone who doesn't even know where to start to help themselves and help the planet. Like, how could they get started? How could they get motivated?
Yeah, well,
right? Like,
I mean, I love...
Because I do it every day, but I'm curious, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
Because you do it too.
Yeah. Well, I think...
What do you think about that?
What I think about that is, educate yourself, right? Like anything else.
Okay.
Educate yourself. So
learn.
I mean, you can come to our website, todayfortomorrow.org, right?
Heck
And that's
we'll put it below.
Yeah, and that's an easy way. There's somewhere on the website. I'm trying to remember where. I think it's Earth Day.
And you're teaching people about this stuff.
Yeah, I've got a nice list of just kind of boom. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this.
Okay.
It's just easy things, low hanging fruit, if you will. You know, and then it does become to what we were talking about earlier, an awareness thing, kind of just a mindset.
Yeah.
You know, you start here, and then you go there,
and then you're harvesting bananas.
And then you're harvesting bananas.
Do you harvest bananas?
Constantly.
Cool, constantly.
Yeah.
Tell them.
Yeah.
What's your favorites? Bananas.
My favorite banana is any banana that's fresh that I grew or somebody I know grew. I can't tell you
love that.
One variety versus another because
they're all pretty good.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they're good. If it's local, if it's from your neighbors or homegrown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally,
and if it's not from a, mass farm in Panama that got loaded up on a shipping, giant ship and then burning nasty bunker fuel all the way across an ocean to then reverse the process over here to then go into the big box store.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
It's too green.
Yeah.
Yeah, not with love. Like there's right. What do you think? Like people say that like food that's made more with care and love and like
intent,
good energy is better for you. And it's like some woo thing, but like it feels like accurate, when you eat kimchi that's like made from someone who really cared and grew it themselves. There's something going on.
There's something going on. Yeah. I don't know how to quantify that, but there is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
We're talking about things that you can. That's hilarious.
But I think the baseline.
Yeah.
The baseline really is that you, me.
It matters though, man.
It matters.
Matters.
Everything matters.
Big time.
I
do. I think so too, man. Yeah. That's the punchline, right?
Yeah.
Because like, it is hard to quantify, but how many wins, like, you do food forest down in Boca, you said with community gardens and at your, like how many, like what are the benefits like to a garden? It's not just the production, which is important.
Right.
But
right.
like, it's so much more.
Oh, it's so much more.
More.
This is not going to be good for the people that don't want the snakes in their yard, but
okay.
I watched multiple properties do this where you start with a backyard that's just sod and maybe some hedges and you have a couple lizards running around, maybe the odd butterfly, once in a while a bird. That's it. And when you start bringing in the ground cover and the shrubs and the trees, you watch the life come in. It's amazing. If you build it, it will come, right? And that's nature.
It's so true. And
nature.
Now you have habitants of the system.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's something to welcome.
Almost every time I cut down a banana stalk, I'm careful because there's going to be a tree frog in it.
Yeah, the Cuban little tree frog.
Right? And it's just
pattern. It's understanding the forest. The humans used to, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so you're saying you did lawns that had nothing going on, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
Food forest ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, everybody who owned property would have a food forest in their front yard. Or backyard, sorry. In a front yard.
I thought you were just going all in.
Yeah, I wish you
Everyone's
could.
Front.
Yeah, I wish you could. My HOA certainly wouldn't let me, but then everybody's front yard and anywhere else would be native species.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, and just build it back up, our habitat. That sounds good. Yeah, man, I have that vision too. That's probably why you came out here today.
Yeah.
Because that's strong. Yeah. And it's powerful, and I think it's needed too. It's necessary. Like it solves a lot of problems, like what you're getting back to.
It solves a lot of problems. Yeah, I mean, the thing with the food forest, I can get on my environmental soapbox for just a minute, but, the thing is, hey, we're sinking carbon. You plant a tree, it doesn't have to be a fruit tree, but you're sinking carbon. Plant it once, and it's going to outlive you and sink carbon the whole time. The dry weight of a tree
all the time
is half carbon. Think about that.
Dude, if people thought of carbon like they did their financial statements and their portfolios, game changer, right? people like want to get it out and they don't value, there's no value around it. Wow, dude, I never thought about that. But like carbon, like imagine if, because like you could think of it like a bank account, storing up carbon with wood chips and biomass.
Yeah.
And then these trees that's doing it all day long. Wow, dude. And you build a forest, like most people don't understand, forest is mostly carbon, wood. You know, that's what
above
life.
and below.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Even below the soil.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly. So it's powerful once you recreate that. What's meant to already be. I think that's what we're getting at, man.
Yeah, we are that too.
Yeah,
because you're bringing in life, right? That's what you're doing. You're taking a sterile space and you're bringing in life, and you're sinking the carbon. You're increasing the biodiversity. You're bringing in habitat.
And this is back to my point. This is what we were talking about. We're co-creators. Creation, creating
Absolutely.
life.
Yeah,
all the time. That's what we're meant to do.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe destroying life unconsciously. That's the destruction, right? There's destruction.
Right.
And creation. It's like interesting. But yeah, tuning into it more, right?
Tuning into it more and just doing your little part and realizing it, taking the time to realize.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Heck yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on and sharing. I hope everyone enjoyed out there.
Oh, I appreciate being on.
Yeah, man.
We got to get on again.
Let's do it.
Talk about that snow globe, and we can. I don't want to say debate, but we can discuss kind of that closed loop thing and how we.
Dude, I would be super down. That's interesting. Yeah. I would be down.
Yeah.
Because who knows, man? It's so beautiful. Nonetheless, the more you acknowledge it and observe it, engage with it, the more beautiful it becomes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It awakens us. It's interesting, right? Like we were talking about like our outer landscape, like you didn't even know what you were getting into, right? The outer landscape shapes our inner landscape.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm telling you, you get in that food forest, and you know this. I'm telling you something you know, and your blood pressure goes down.
Wow.
Right? And your immune system kicks into gear because you're dealing with the microbes.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
It's been really deep and amazing. Is there anything else you want to share with anybody, like more about your nonprofit or about your vision of the future? Anything at all? No pressure.
Yeah, a little bit about the nonprofit. I would love if, the viewers and the listeners would just visit the nonprofit's website. That's todayfortomorrow.org. And the 2 is a 2 and the 4 is a 4. So it's spelled out that way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then lots of interesting things they can see there.
Today for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And because that's the whole point, right, is it's the things that, and I close a lot of my YouTube videos like this, and it's the little things that we do in our daily lives today as individuals that make such a big difference for all of our tomorrows. It's what we do as individuals that counts, right? So
big time, our decisions.
Yeah. It's the actions we can take, So yeah, I would just encourage everyone to visit the website and have that mindset. Have that mindset that, even if you just do a little thing, you're doing something.
Man, brother, it's massive. I think about it. You think about our personal lives, like even you guys, our audience, like our listeners. Think about who impacted us. Like even just being like friendly to like the kid, the kids at the school, being like a real, like positive, like lifting people up. It matters too.
Absolutely.
Like, oh my goodness. Like, so it thinks about, man, it matters a lot. I totally agree.
That's it. We can do it. Yeah. So that's what I want.
We can do it.
Leave your listeners with that. It's up to us because who else is going to do it?
Dude, I totally agree. Hopelessness, there's no room for it in our lives anymore.
And complain.
That's what I just said.
Complaining.
And complaining.
Don't complain. Do something about it.
I love it, bro.
Yeah.
Because we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. Let's do it again.
Let's do it.
Yeah. We'll see you guys.